we pulled out here. Yeah. We saw a bunch of elk tracks crossing the road, and there were 4 bulls, 5 now. Another one came up, and I just got out, and I saw the one that looked the best, put it on him, shot, and I think I missed the first shot, but they didn't go anywhere. And then the second shot, I hit him really good. He was kind of quartering away, so I put it behind that last rib and shot. He's down behind a shrub right now. The last bull to come out might be a little bigger than him actually, but I don't care. We came here to get an elk, and I think we just did. He went down behind that bush. I think I hit him twice, but I'm gonna sit here and watch for a minute.
Welcome to the Cuttercast vlogcast. My name is Seth Larson. Thank you so much for watching or listening wherever you might be. The support you guys give us means the world to us here at Canvas Cutter. On today's episode, I sit down with my father, Father Wisdom, to recount a successful road hunt we had just this last week. And you didn't misunderstand me. I didn't stutter. I did say road hunt. It was one of the most pure professional road hunts I've ever been on. Now, some of my earliest memories are riding in the truck with my dad, a hunter or 2 or 3 in the bed of the truck, and riding up and down the same roads all morning, only to go back in the evening and ride those same roads, stopping occasionally to glass into a canyon or 2, and often finding success. But by the time I was old enough to hunt, my dad's road hunting days were behind him, and we were serious hunters. So we hiked into spots or rode 4-wheelers clear back into areas people didn't want to go. And we also found success and found animals to go after. But because of that, my father had never really passed on that knowledge and the skills that come with being a professional road hunter. So this last week, I guess he felt the burden upon his shoulders to pass along that knowledge, and we did a true proper road hunt. And it paid off, baby. With a 6x6 bull, it paid off in an any bull unit here in Utah. I had a multi-season any bull tag, which allowed me to hunt the archery season, the rifle season, and the muzzleloader season. And the rifle season is going on right now, and we got out with a little weather and found success. Now, hopefully you can glean a couple things from this episode that can improve your road hunting skills and maybe fill a few more tags, as it helped me fill my tag, and I'm pretty stoked about it. But without further ado, here's Professional Road Hunting with Father Wisdom and yours truly.
All right, folks, welcome to the Cuttercast vlogcast. I'm joined today by my father, Father Wisdom.
Yes.
Yes, he is. We had just a superb experience yesterday, and we thought we'd just sit down while it's fresh on our minds and do a little recap of it. So we were successful in harvesting a bull elk, which I can't complain. This year's been pretty good. You know, it feels like we have a hard time filling tags, not due to effort. Like, we put in the time and effort. It just feels like, you know, things don't always line up. But this year, I mean, we got Jason's bowl. We had opportunities on the archery hunt.
Yes.
Just didn't completely come together. Should have, but didn't. And then we just got a bull. And so we're going to tell that story.
Yeah, we had some opportunities. I shouldn't say plenty.
Yeah.
In Utah archery. We went to Wyoming, after some, hard hiking, looking, finally called the biologist, and he told us to go down in this canyon that no one's been in 100 years because and then come to find out it wasn't that bad, and called in 3 bulls. But
We're going to recap Wyoming soon. We'll do Wyoming on another podcast.
Yeah, it's been...
So the general rifle hunt in Utah started last weekend, and we missed the opener, which I'm fine with. I'm not a huge fan of openers here in Utah. It seems like there's people everywhere, which is wonderful. Like, I'm glad people are getting out, but I'm maybe more of an introvert when it comes to hunting, and I'm fine not seeing people out in the hills. So I had soccer games, had a daughter's birthday, so we didn't get out on the opener. But this week we had a storm system rolling in, and I kept checking the weather, and it kept getting worse and worse. Like, it was rain, and then we were expected to get 5 inches at my house, and I was like, I should call my dad. We need to get up in the hills. Like, if there's a time to go, snow is just going to increase our chances of success, especially in an area that several years ago I called the biologist. If you guys don't talk to the biologist, I recommend it, just because, I mean, they know these animals fairly well. They should, at least.
They better.
And they better if they're doing their job. And they should also know kind of where the animals are at if they're going to be able to give us an accurate count of how many we have. But I called the biologist and asked him about a bunch of spots I was thinking of in an area we hadn't hunted a lot. And they happened to be a few areas he himself hunted. So I was like, well, that's good news. But that was for archery, and the rifle was coming up, and I called him and asked him for suggestions. And he just said, if we get snow, here's a spot I would go check for sure. It seems like with snow, especially the more the better, snow and low temps, the elk like to move more down into this area. So I was like, sweet. And we got a little snow that year, and we went there, and that's when I shot that 6x6 club bull. Yeah. And so I was like, sweet. So when I saw this,
backing up to that, even then we seen several bulls.
Yeah,
it wasn't
true.
That was the only one. There was like 4 or 5 other bulls.
Yeah,
he was just happened to be the closest.
Yeah,
so.
And he wasn't the one that I saw that made us even go over there. I saw a really good bull that a guy you worked with on the railroad knew about, and he was like, it's like a 370 bull. I saw a big bull, and I was like, let's go that way. So we did, and then the only bull that was around was that dude, and I was like, that's sweet. He's got this big old club coming down. Like, yeah, he's going to take it.
I think he was sitting there watching us, and he later asked me, how come you guys didn't shoot that big bull? I said, we just never seen him. He said, yeah, he was right in that same area that you shot that one. And I'm thinking,
that's crazy, because even when we shot and the cows started going, I only saw cows in this dude. But
so...
Anywho, so we knew that area, when it has weather, could pay off, and I knew the odds, especially with snow, just increase. I mean, you can find tracks and know, like, there was elk here, right? It's pretty, it ups the success rate. So I saw that. My son Luke had a soccer game, and we went to that, and you came. And I was like, oh, perfect. I was going to talk to you anyways. Like, let's get out. Let's go up. So we planned to go up the two, what I thought was the 2 worst days, according to the weather, to head out.
What's up, Canvas Cutter family? Got the burrow duffel, my Dominator, my backpack ready to go. Father Wisdom's on his way here. We're headed out for a day or two to see if we can't find a bull elk to harvest. So that's the goal. We're gonna head out to a spot. It's been, as you can see, pretty cruddy weather all day yesterday, all night long, and it's supposed to be bad all day today. It's rainy down here in the valley, so we're hoping that once we gain a decent amount of elevation, that there will be snow. And if there is snow,
I'm excited, baby. If there's snow, it moves the elk into a certain area most of the time. So our opportunity for success increases substantially if it does snow. But it's raining down here. I think it's snowing up there. We'll cross our fingers and we'll find out in a few hours. But Father Wisdom should be here shortly. We'll get the stuff loaded up and then we'll be headed out. Got things organized. You picked me up and we headed out to this area. And I was a bit concerned because what was supposed to be snow had just materialized into rain. And as we were driving up the canyon too and gaining elevation, there was no snow. In fact, it seemed like it hadn't even rained as much up there as it had down towards my house. So it was like, I hope there's snow the whole entire time. And we, it's a little bit of a drive. We decided to check a low spot, a really, really low spot.
Yes.
At one that's overlooked by probably 90% of the people that hunt this area, but one, again, that your friend has had success himself and helping friends. It's just people drive by it and it's not very big. And we went and checked there and nothing. It's very much a hit or miss. Like they're either, I know this sounds absurd, but they're either there or they're not. And if they're there, like the 1 year too, I mean, we saw a sweet like 340 5-point or 5x6.
Yeah.
I didn't have my release, jump out, knock an arrow, go to shoot. He's like 30 yards right. Okay. Quick story, sidetrack. We were driving up the canyon, and I remember we were going over this really thin bridge, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if we came around the corner and like a big old bull was standing in the middle of the road? And we came around the corner, and this 5x6, like 340 5x6 standing in the middle of the road with a bunch of cows, a raghorn, a spike. And we're like, what? So we like go off, and he's trying to swing around the truck, and I bail out, knock an arrow, go to shoot, and I don't have my release on. And John and I ended up chasing him clear up onto this plateau. It was gnarly to learn where they come down off there. I would have never expected it because you look at this country and you're just like, how are they getting off the top down into here? And but we followed him up and we ended up running into his cows and bumping them, and they were all bedded in these cedars and they came running out and we just never had a shot. But he was a good bull. And your friends killed great bulls down in that area too. So we can't go past it and just not try it. It's worth trying to call and to glass right there. But no dice.
Nope, not this time.
But good news that started making me feel a little better once we started heading up the canyon and gaining elevation. The snow started to accumulate, and we get up top and we got about 3 or 4 inches of snow.
And what really, me being a professional road hunter, there was 0 tracks in front of us. No one had been up in there all day.
Well, I was concerned, remember, because we could turn right and go to one area or turn left and go to the suggested area. Yeah. But to turn left, there had been several trucks up and down the road. Yep. So I was like, no. Like, it's the middle of the week. Like, no. We passed, but they were like company trucks of a company coming down. But once we turned onto the road we needed and no one had been on it, I was just like, woo!
Yes. I thought, we have this.
Yeah.
Have this all to ourselves. And no one's been in here. It's stormed for like 24 hours. They got to get up and feed for long. And so we're sitting there loving every minute.
Yeah, I was so stoked. All right. We made it. A couple good newses. Good news number 1, I have the sweet retro orange hat for the hunt, so that's nice. Good news number 2, it snowed, which is mooey good. And good news number 3, oh, yeah, that was good news number 3. I just remember good news number 3. No one's been up here since it snowed. It started storming yesterday, all night, and today. It's about 3 inches of snow. No one's been up this road, so that's good news. That's good news number 3. It was flurrying. It wasn't like snowing heavy. Temps were cold. We stopped and glassed a spot. Saw a huge eagle and then a coyote, a giant coyote, and I got out and he bailed off into the trees, so that was disappointing. Couldn't save a few elk or deer there. And but no elk. Like, we glassed a lot, and I was expecting for things, it's evening. It, like you said, it'd been storming for probably over 24 hours. They have to get up and feed. Nothing.
Dead. We hiked down a ridge.
Where we could glass 2 different canyons.
Nothing.
Like nothing. And you'd glass across, and you couldn't even see where they had like come through openings, because sometimes you can see where they've pushed through the snow or whatever. Nothing. There's no sign. There's no tracks on the side we were on. Nothing had crossed the road. And I was like, did we make the right decision? Like, is this too early? Because it is. It's 1st of October. It's early in October, October 13th, and 12th at the time. But like, maybe it's too early. Maybe they haven't pushed down, and maybe we made a mistake. Maybe we should go over. And I kept asking you that. Should we go back over to that spot?
A long time ago, I ran into an old guy, and old guys know a lot. He told me, and it's been true, that a snowstorm will move elk around more than 100 men up there tromping around. And I spend most of my life in the mountains. He told me come true, that every time it would snow, all these elk would drop down low along the railroad tracks. And I'm thinking, that guy knew what he was talking about. So if these elk were still high, and even though we weren't seeing anything, they don't like that. They'll move, and they'll usually move down and then follow the snow back up. So I thought within the next day or so we did stand a chance, and especially where we had it.
Yeah, I was feeling good, and the lack of hunters made me feel even better. It was just like I was expecting that evening to at least glass something up.
Yeah.
And only a couple deer tracks that we crossed. And
I think that night the downside is I sort of thought that the 5 o'clock rush would come. Those people would come up, and sure enough, an hour, probably 6 before dark, there was a truck.
There was a truck, yeah.
And I'm thinking, but then he left, and I'm thinking.
And in the right, we ended up going to where we wanted to, luckily, to camp. And it's a good spot where you can walk down the ridge we did. In the morning, you can glass different canyons, and it's a really good spot. But it looked like the clouds were starting to break up. But then at last light, it got super cloudy again. So it was like, and we were, according to the weather, it was supposed to be partly sunny the next day. And so we were both optimistic that if it is sunny and if it does break up, like, they have to be up feeding. Like, I was feeling good. I just didn't know if the area we were in was the right one.
I remember you saying when we were hiking back up, or getting ready to hike back up out of that canyon, you saying, what do you think? Should we move to a different canyon? And I said, well, as we hike out,
let's just think about it.
And not wanting to say one way or the other, because I'm always afraid to saying, let's move. And then we go over there, and the next morning there's 100 shots, of where we've left. Yeah. And so I thought, God, we're right here. We got a good level place. Let's just get up in the morning. We'll do some real professional road hunting, and then we'll just, road hunt back home.
I want to point out a key word there that you'll hear around Father Wisdom, a good level place. He's very, very intent on having.
Most of you guys don't know on your
level place.
Your iPhone, there's a leveler, and I wear that thing out. My spot has got to be perfectly level. Or
it is a good spot. That
yes,
we're at.
it's.
And
really
you made a good point. Like, we got back, we had some leftover pizza, which was a good move. Listening to some podcasts, and you were just like, we're here, so let's just stay here. We can hunt around here in the morning, and if nothing's happening, then we'll go over there and hunt the rest of the day. And I thought that was sound advice. And I knew in the middle of the night, throughout my bedroll, it was comfortable, but in the middle of the night, I felt the temperature drop significantly.
Yes.
Like significantly. I don't get cold, like hardly ever. And I had a hand warmer, a really sweet hand warmer. You guys need to look into it, Costco hand warmer.
Yes. I bought 2 of them today.
It works incredibly well. Different settings, yada, yada. But I threw it in the bottom of my sleeping bag. I was toasty, but on the flaps on both sides, middle of the night, I woke up and I just felt like very cold air. I was like, it had to have cleared off.
Well, me being an older gentleman,
dropped.
I usually have to visit the stars once a night. And I was sleeping roughing it in the back of my truck with the shell. But I went to get out and I went to grab my boots and they were froze to the carpet in the back of my truck. And I had I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it did get cold. And then everything was frosty outside, but it was clear as a bell. And I'm thinking, yes.
Yeah, with that temperature drop, clear skies, they are going to be up and moving. They've got to feed. Got to feed. And, I remember I woke up at like 5 because we both thought we heard a truck. You did see lights.
Yeah, when I sort of just sat up and looked down the ridge, and it was like 30 minutes before the sun, and I see these lights coming up. And I'm thinking, we got to go. Because I'm a professional.
Yeah.
You want to be the first one at the gate or through the gate and then put a different lock on the gate. Sort of, you want to be the first. Yeah. And so I get up, Seth gets up, that's the sweet thing.
Yeah.
It only takes a few minutes and we're on the road.
But my goodness, however, I had my boots where I always put them on the side, inside my bedroll, down the side. And, like, my boots were frozen solid. That's how cold it was.
Yeah.
Like, I could barely get my right foot in my boot because it had frozen in a weird position. Like, I had to smash my foot into the boot. And we got up. And
some of you might. Me and you've been doing this probably most your whole entire life.
Oh yeah.
So it's nothing really new to us. But what I usually do is, if my pants are pretty much clean, I'll usually just take my coat off, my boots, and just crawl on my bedroll. So when you get up in the morning, I always have a down coat, or depending if it's cold like that, and I'll throw that in there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so the only thing you got to do is, my coat's warm. That's why I bought a couple of those hand warmers. Yeah. I'm going to drop them in my boots.
Yeah, I had my down puffy. I just pulled it in my sleeping bag.
So within, 5-10 minutes, we're
you're
hunting.
Up and going. You're hunting.
And if you're in a tent, it doesn't matter what you're in. Because I thought about bringing a tent, and then I thought, I don't want to take the time to set up a tent.
Yeah.
Because I can take 2 minutes, start the truck, and no time, we got heat.
Yeah.
So, but I think the advantage to that is we're right there.
Yeah.
We're at the gate.
Yeah.
No one's going to come in behind because we have this whole canyon to ourselves.
And we can leave.
Yes.
It's the same thing that I want to talk about Wyoming. Like, we could have got up, gone and checked the spots we wanted to, and then gone 50 miles away. We didn't have to come back and take a camp down. Yeah. Like you said, we got up, put our frozen boots on, but you had the truck started, just put the bedrolls in the back of the truck.
All right, good morning. Just getting up. Get the bedrolls put away, and hopefully go find some elk. It's kind of cold right now. My boots are frozen. Barely got my feet in them, but they're in them. So hopefully they'll thaw out. I'll tie them up.
I wanted the glass behind us, and I just walked over there and was glassing, and I heard like a faint bugle. And I told you, I think I heard a faint bugle down there. So you came down and we were glassing, and sure enough, high up on the ridge, there was a herd of elk. I only had my 10 by 42s, but I couldn't see like, oh yeah, that's a great bull or not. They were also out of public land. They were just onto private, not far. They just needed to drop down into a canyon. But I remember I was looking at them and I was like, sweet, they're up, and saw some elk. And I remember you saying, let's go check all the easy spots and then we'll come check. Because this canyon that we're camped by and where elk have moved in, where I killed that bull, like it's a hellhole. And if you get something in it, especially with just the two of us, like it's going to be a journey to get it out. Days. It will be brutal to get it out, but it's worth it.
But sort of in the back of my mind too, I'm thinking I seen lights down there.
Yeah.
And it's so important to be a road hunter. You got to be the first, not always, because the old mouse thing, the second mouse gets the cheese, and sometimes that's the case. Sometimes you kick them out for somebody else, but I just figured, let's just go look. Because Seth hasn't been looking down in this. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking, dude, I'm 66 years old. That thing
is very young, 66.
But you got to take them where you find them, too.
You got to take them where you find them, and there was elk up there.
Yeah, so we would have if we had to.
And everybody who's hunted elk knows that it is nothing for them to move canyons, miles, put on miles in a night, like just in a night. So I remember you said, let's just get in the truck and go check the easy spots real quick, and then we can come back and check this. And in my mind, I was thinking, a heater sounds nice. Like I'm standing in frozen boots. Like a heater does sound nice. And all right, I did want to walk down that ridge. Like because there's just like, I wanted to walk. I was like, all right, no, let's do that. Heat sounds good. And I don't have the road hunting experience that you have. Like I grew up at the tail end of your road hunting.
Yeah, you were too late.
I was too late. I remember.
And I'm glad I didn't spoil you. But I'm trying to now. I'm trying to spoil you a little.
I remember as a little kid, like sitting in the truck, and we always had a couple guys in the bed, with their bows and stuff, and we were just creeping down the road.
That's fun.
So I'm just putting my full trust in your road hunting experience, and you're like, let's go check these. So we did. It was super smart, actually, because with the snow, like you can see, there was no tracks the day before. So if there's any tracks, it happened during the night or that morning. And we start going down. We don't go very far, and sure enough, there's some tracks coming down the side of the road, but like, are they elk? And the snow was super fluffy, and so it had caved in, so it wasn't distinguishable. Like you couldn't see dew claws of where like a bull hit, but if it was an elk, it was for sure a bull.
Yeah, I remember sort of the first ones just looking, and they looked like they were going into that ugly canyon.
Yeah.
And then we went a little further, and I slowed down, kicked my door open, and I could see where elk had went into this little canyon. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking, okay, we just have to go up over this little hill and around, and we can see down in this other canyon in case they've worked their way around or what's. Mm-hmm. Because if you go in there and they're not, so they weren't in there, and so I know there's elk that's dropped down in this canyon because that's where their tracks. So we turn around and we head down in there.
Well, we went a little further, and there was the road comes to an end because of private, a CWMU. And we turned around, and an elk had jumped out of that, and there's a single track.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, elk are going in this area. And you're like, let's go back and check out those tracks.
And then about that same time, I'm still feeling the heat of seeing lights. I know there's somebody in the area, and so I'm just feeling like I know there's elk in that canyon, so we got to get there before somebody else.
And there's like a little couple 100-yard pull-out road where you can look into this canyon. And we drove past there, went past the tracks, and there were some Quakies there. And I was thinking, man, they could be in those Quakies that go down into this bowl at the head of this canyon. And we turn down that pull-out road and get to the end of it, and I look out, and straight across from us, going up the other hillside, is 4 elk. So I'm like, there's elk right there. and I grab my gun and I hop out, and I'm expecting some cows, but there's got to be a bull with them. And I go to put my binos up, and you say, they're all bulls.
Yep.
And so I just quickly scan them, and I see the fourth one's the biggest one. And between the fourth and the third bull, there wasn't a huge difference, but the fourth looked a little bigger. The first two were dinky. So I put my binos in, went up like 10 yards, sat down, got my tripod set up, and got it up.
You're saying range.
I turn around to you, and that fourth bull, he's still walking up to him. And I'm like, my rangefinder's in the truck. I need a range. Will you get my rangefinder? And at the same time, then he stopped, and I was just like, I'm just going to let her rip. So I put my crosshairs. I'm zeroed at 200, and I knew they were further than 200, but how much I didn't know. It was just, the rush of things. I wasn't sitting there trying to analyze like, that looks like this distance. I was just like, there's a bull, and I'm going to shoot him. So I put my crosshairs on the pocket. I was high lung, shot, and I didn't hear a whack.
No.
And I hurried and jacked that one out and jacked another one in, expecting them to start moving. But they just stood there. And he just walked up by the other three. Oh, and just conveniently stood there. And you say 452. And I have a cool app on my phone that will tell me like at temperature, elevation that we were at, which I hadn't updated. But you put all of that information, my scope, my calendar, my speed, everything. You put that in, and it will give me drops of where I need to dial or what reticle to hold it on for my specific scope. And I didn't want to pull that out and mess with it or like, oh, yeah. You said 450, and I knew that's higher than 200, so I held my reticle, I moved it up, and let her rip. Whack! Yeah. I hit him good there.
Yeah, you heard that. That one definitely. But I still think the fun of it, and when this goes, I mean, we're like two teenage kids on our first date.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Well, I'm running around the truck trying to get a rangefinder. You're over there.
I've left the camera in the truck.
Yeah,
like I packed this camera around to film these things. I have a tripod in there. They're not in a hurry. They weren't running out. They were just slowly walking up the hill.
And if we would have let them go up, I mean, to a star benefit. But anyway, that's what's fun about it. We were both stoked.
It was stoked. Like, it's 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Boom, there's 4 bolts right there. Are you kidding me? And this is not going to be a rough back out. And I hit him good. And he was kind of, the first shot, he had come up by the 4 or the 3 other bulls, but he had turned uphill, quartering away, but looking back at me. And I was just thinking archery thoughts. I was like, I can sneak it through that last rib into the lungs. So I just put my main reticle on the top of his back to where it would be about 400 yards for the next hash, right behind there, pulled, hit him hard. You heard it. Jacked another one in. Pulled up, and he had turned broadside. And I don't like, a lot of people like the high shoulder, because it will, if you hit it, it hits both shoulders and usually hits the spine too, and it kills them like immediately, dumps them like a pile of, so I was going for that, put it a little lower than that shot, and hit him again. However, they're all still standing there, and the 3 shells I had have been spent, and I realized my shells are in my backpack, in the back of the truck, in the shell, right? So I'm like, put my gun down, sprint back there, get my shells, and by the time I get back, the 3 that were with him had moved over the ridge. And you told me
he'd lay down. But I'm sort of old school, so the one we first started shooting at, I think, as being the second gunner, it's my responsibility to keep track of him. Because sometimes they'll shuffle in one another and you lose. And so I'm stuck on the same bull. And so I'm telling Seth, he's still the one to the right.
He's the one in the back.
He's the lower one. Giving him so we're shooting at the same, so we don't get 5 or 6 bulls dead, half of them going over the ridge. And yeah, it
so
was
they'd gone over the ridge, and you said he just went behind that brush and bedded down.
During about the third shot, the second mouse comes up out of the bottom of the ridge.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I don't see him until I get back to my gun. But you're like, he's behind that brush. Did he come out before? I have it in my brain that...
Yeah, he did. Because I was after the first shot, I'm going to keep telling you the second. And I'm looking down in that bull. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, he's a little bigger. But once we started, I figured, let's just keep...
And so I get back with my shells. Those 3 that were with him had moved over, but that other bull was just walking. Again, just... Like, not in a hurry. He just walked past my bull, who had bedded behind that shrub, and I was glassing, and he was a little bigger. It wasn't like, oh, no, I made a mistake. It was just like, oh, he's maybe 300. And he just walked past my bull, and once he got to the opening, then he started trotting. But
let me insert something.
Yes, please.
About this time when this other bull comes out, the guy that we had seen the night before and the guy coming behind us pulls up there, and he's heard us shooting. So I'm sort of waving him on. Go to the next canyon. I'm trying to get him because that other bull was just he was like...
It's in any bull unit in Utah. Like any bull you need to take because there's your opportunity.
I'm hoping they just went over in this other little swell canyon and hopefully that guy can...
Yeah. And so we're like, can't believe it. We're both assuming like he's dying behind that shrub. He's bedded down. We're like, can you believe that? That's so awesome. It's like 7:40 in the morning now, and we're just elated. Like, this is great. Like, this happened exactly how we would hope it would happen. This is going to be an easy pack out. Like, this is great. And I'm doing some vlogging, apologizing for not getting any of it on film. And you said, should we go over there? And when I glassed over there, it was thick oak, but I could see his antlers up. And I thought in my mind I could see them slightly move every now and then. But, when an animal's dying, like, they move. And so I was like, maybe I'll stay here and watch. So you decided that...
Well, in past experiences, if there's been 2 or 3 of us, we walk over there, and by the time we get over there and the animals got up, and now we spend the other half of the day. So I've learned through experience that the gunner needs to stay someplace where he
can observe.
And if he gets up, they can shoot him. So I just told Seth, hey, I'll just wander over there, and if he's dead, you just drive the truck over there, and we'll... So I took off, and I hear this whistling, and I turned back, and you were saying, he's still alive.
Yeah, I'm like,
and so I'm looking over there.
Shoot him again.
And so...
Because I was vlogging, like, can't believe this happened. This is so great. And I glassed. His antlers are facing northeast. And I'm talking, well, this is wonderful. Like, I'm sorry I didn't get it on film. And I glassed, and he's looking at me. Like, that bugger's not dead. Yeah. So I was like, put the camera down. Wes got your attention to let you know I was going to shoot again. Took my time. Like, didn't think he was going to go anywhere. Got down there, went about 50 yards closer than where I was, sat down, got him in my scope, and I thought, like, 450. I put that in my phone, and it said 5 MOA. So I was like, before I shot, I was like, I should get my rangefinder and just get an exact range, get an exact hold, and do it right. So I set my gun down, and I went back to the truck, got the rangefinder, came back, sat down, ranged, and it died. It wouldn't give me it was like trying, and it just died, completely turned off, dead. was like, oh my word. And I look up and he's standing up. The bugger is standing up. He had taken a few steps out into the opening. So I was like, well, it was 5.3. So I was like, well, I'll do 5 because I came a little bit closer. And I held it right in the pocket, my reticle, shot, nothing, no whack. I assumed I hit high. You said from your spot.
I could hear the bullet go through the brush behind it, and I'm thinking, okay, that was a little high.
That was a little high. I assumed high. I didn't know. And there was like no dirt kicking up because there's snow everywhere. So I put another one in, and I was like, I'm just going to put my reticle, my main crosshairs right on top of his shoulder. High shoulder, shot, folded. All 4 legs came up, and he just dumped like a bag of bricks. I was like, thank you. Thank you so much.
So he's for sure down now. And again, I didn't want to mess around. I wasn't going to chase him down further into the canyon, so I did not swap the lens out to film it. I apologize. You guys watch these things to see that very thing, and that really would have been awesome because he was standing broadside and I shot, and then he folded all of them, right? So that's cool.
And you finished hiking over there, gave me a thumbs up. So I finished vlogging what had happened, hopped in the truck and drove around, and you hiked up and got the backpacks on, went down there, and I was stoked. Like he was actually a little bigger than I thought he was at first. Yeah. I thought he was just a really dinky rag. He's a raghorn in the terms of like his age. He's probably like 3 years old. But his potential, which I took away, was great. But he was symmetrical. He had good thirds, even for how young of a bull he was. He had great thirds. He had good mass. Like, I was stoked.
All right, made it over to him. It's a nice bull. Pretty stoked. It's my best any bull yet. Nice little 6. He had great potential. Just a young guy. Good front, thirds, royal, back, decent mass. If he was anywhere but an any bull unit, he might grow up into something. Super stoked though. We just got to get him set up, get a couple photos, and then gonna quarter him out, get him back to the truck.
For
so
any
awesome.
bull unit, and I had some friends that had some limited entry archery tags, and no offense, but this bull was probably nicer than some of them. But we're dealing with the rifle and archery. But I was pretty pumped.
You want to know the best part? It was a 15-minute walk to the truck. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's the pack out I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, Clay at the bow shop one-upped me there. They literally backed the truck up to his elk. It died on the road, so that was neat. But a 15-minute hike was superb.
Versus that
hell that we could have been in.
Believe me, all day long, I'm praising the Lord.
Yeah.
This is
well, and we start quartering him out. And the sun comes out and actually starts to warm up. The snow's melting everywhere. A few takeaways that I am determined to improve on for me. And you can throw in your takeaways. But takeaway 1, the last time I shot my gun was probably 2 years ago. Now, I don't give me any hate. When I shot it was dead on. And then it's been sitting in a safe, secure place and hasn't been touched. Cleaned it, hasn't been touched. There's no reason why it should be anything but dead on. And I feel like it was. However, I think you get into a rhythm and into a system when you shoot more regularly. And a confidence of knowing where to hold exactly, right? The first shot, I didn't have a range. I was just guessing but I probably wouldn't change that. But when you said 450, I also guessed, and it worked out. But had I looked at my chart a little bit more, had I shot a little bit more, it would have been less of a guess and more of a know exactly. And for the animals' sake, like, I think I owe it to them. I do have the excuse, and it is an excuse, like bullets, powder, especially the worst one is primers. The primers that I use, like, I can't just switch a different primer because it would change the speed of my bullet and everything. It changes everything. Like, I think there's a lot of experienced rifle hunters and shooters out there that know this, but if you don't, like, you can't just throw a different primer in and load up the same amount of powder and expect it to shoot. It shoots differently, even a different primer. And so I still have a bunch of already loaded stuff, but I don't want to burn all that out just going and shooting at targets and rocks instead of hunting. But I probably should have at least, 5-6 shots just to reassure that. That's takeaway number 1. Do more shooting before a rifle hunt. Takeaway 2, I had a tarp in my backpack that I've been carrying all season long. It's a really light nylon tarp that I can use as a covering, a shade, but also once you kill something is what I have it in there for. You can lay the quarters out on it before you put them in game bags, right? So they can air out for a minute. And I forgot that was in there. And I also left home and forgot garbage bags for when we were loading it into coolers or putting it in the truck. And at first I was like, well, at least there's like 3 or 4 inches of snow. But when you put a warm, sometimes hot quarter of an elk on the snow and you're working away, you're not like thinking about that single thing. I didn't think about it, but the snow underneath it melted. And so I go to pick them up to put them in bags, and they'd got dirty, which, like, they can be cleaned. I get it. But I want from here on out for myself, like, I had game bags. I could have, that are very porous. Like, I could have put them directly in the game bag and let them air out there. Or, like, Seth, be conscious enough and prepared enough to pull out the tarp you've been packing for months and use it. So I want to be, a takeaway there was taking it from the animal, processing it, quartering it out, to in my backpack, packing out. I want that process. I want to be prepared to where that's a cleaner process, so that if I process it myself or if I take it somewhere, it doesn't have to be clean. Like, it's clean. It's good to go. I think that's my takeaways.
My takeaway.
That and road hunting.
More road hunting.
More road hunting in the future.
Because we'll get into it another episode, but during the archery hunt, me and Seth, I mean, it was like opening day. There was people everywhere, and it was...
Yeah, it wasn't even opening day, and there was people everywhere. We went in the middle of the week after opening day, and we're like, horrible. Good, there shouldn't be very many people. There were people everywhere, and we were just like complaining about it. Like, gosh.
I was ready to go home, but we pull over on this. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but we pull over and take... Some of you know me. I mean, this is...
Father Wisdom needs
I like
his
a
naps.
good nap.
He needs a solid...
We pull over there and take a nap and wake up and get out and walk around the truck. And
in the process, we're glassing and
3
we're
o'clock.
Complaining about, like, there's a truck at every single canyon. There was 3 at one canyon, like one small canyon.
We're getting
ATVs driving by.
But anyway, we hear this bugle and we're thinking, oh my gosh, one of those guys is
down in there bugling.
We hope to tell you that was amazing.
It actually turned out there was elk right there below us. And it was awesome, and all these people were hunting all around them, and they were right there. So
and just pulled over to take it. So don't forget your naps.
Yeah, don't forget your naps. Don't forget that a lot of people are wanting to be their hardcore, like get in that backcountry, go pack in there 1 mile to 6 miles or whatever. Yeah. But a lot of people are walking right past what they're
Yeah,
hunting.
it's like on this trip going up there, that little teeny patch right off the main drag.
Right off the main drag, little tiny
Sometimes
canyon and a little patch.
One of these times, there's been elk in there.
Yep. And that's Riley Warwood at the bow shop told me that a couple years ago, and it's just like ingrained in my brain. He's a very successful mule deer hunter, and all his daughters have been successful. And he said once to me, like, a lot of people drive by a lot of big bucks.
It's like our last story where I tell about that buck that was laying right in the willows.
Right in the willows, right by where people were driving by on four-wheelers and ATVs all day long, 200 yards from a main highway, just like chilling. Well, 400, but
some of my takeaways is exactly what you said. Back in the day, I mean, I would go shoot 100 rounds a week. It was nothing to go shoot my 22. I burnt the barrel out of it. We would go shoot constantly. And that thing was, and some of you might understand what I'm talking about. I mean, I could shoot a rabbit fairly easy on the run. Me and that gun just clicked because I shot it all the time. But and today we're ammo and primers. I have 200 rounds left for my gun, and I'm thinking, okay, it might last me till I croak. And so, but I know my gun shoots better when it's dirty. That might sound funny so I know I got to go shoot my gun. So I'll go out and shoot it a few times and make sure that it's tuned in
it's
there.
Been on, and the same thing. Like, there's no reason why it shouldn't be. It's just you said, like building. It sound really absurd, but building a relationship almost with your gun to where like you know it, you're confident with it, you know how it shoots, and it's just hard to do that right now though. Like, it's hard to find powder, and I have primers and like bullets. Like, it's just brass. It's absurd prices and really hard. But I guess maybe that's not an excuse, but it's definitely a takeaway.
Yeah, I think that. Other than that, I thought the pack out was just.
Well, yeah, you did all of it.
Pretty much.
It was like
there
cutting stuff up, and
this is like going to the gym in the morning. I'm having 4 rounds of a 15-minute
15 minutes to the truck,
and then cool off coming back. I mean,
it left me feeling pretty guilty though. Like, I'm sitting here cutting it up. My dad's like, I think I'll take the shoulder and some of this meat out, and it's like, all right. Comes back, gets a hind quarter. I think I'm just help me get this on. I'll take it. I was like, okay, I'll just take a break. Like, sit down for a minute, and I'll finish this, and we'll go.
We're very conscientious about the meat, and it does make us feel bad. Do like a clean shot. We don't like and honestly, we didn't. The shots were well placed. We didn't lose a bunch of meat, and I was grateful for that. And because I mean, that's actually what I mean. You're not going to kill it. Well, I don't know. Someday we might kill a 400 each bull out there. But
that's what we're hoping. But anyway, last takeaway is, man, compared to archery, rifle hunting's just.
It's
so
not
easy.
Fair. It's not
so
fair.
Easy. Like, I'm grateful for it. It's putting meat in my freezer, but my word, you see an elk 450 yards away on the archery hunt, you got to start being very strategic on, like, where is he going? What's he doing? What's the wind doing?
Yeah.
Like, where am I going to go to set up? On the rifle, the wind can be blowing 90 miles an hour right to his nose. It doesn't matter. You just put one down range, and there he goes. But I'm grateful for it. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a blast. We have another hunt coming up, your Colorado rifle mule deer hunt. I'm pretty stoked about.
It's sort of the same deal. We got to get snow. It's really because it's on the Utah border. I've hunted this thing forever.
I grew up with him leaving to go to 30 Colorado.
Years
I never could go because I had school.
I know this place inside and out, and it's got to have snow, and then they'll migrate in, and you can go there and not see a deer, and you get a little snow, and it's like 10,000 deer everywhere. So I'm hoping we're just going to go set and watch this burn.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can. I don't know. I'm done with Colorado. I've been putting in, I've been doing it, but
Well, this area, you've hunted it for a long time. It's produced some really good bucks
yeah, and
for you guys. And
for some of you
for
guys
in the
out
past.
there, I have an antelope hunt next year in Wyoming. I have enough points. I have like 13, 14 points, so I'm going to do that. Then I'm just going to come home. I was thinking the other day, if I do the dedicated hunter for deer, and if I buy the multi-season elk, I can actually hunt from the middle of August, clear till
The end of the year with the extended archery
and
hunts.
the end of the elk muzzleloaders clear in November. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So Colorado hunt, I still have an Arizona Coos deer hunt that I'm super excited about, and I still have extended archery deer that I'm hoping to capitalize on. But
I think a fun one is John still got a meat hunt.
we still have a couple. Emily still has her any bull
Yes.
tag that I would love to take her out before the end of the rifle. John still has his spike tag, and so does Matt. So we have plenty of fun meat hunts to go on.
Yeah, I went up the other day pulling cameras, and oh my gosh, there was a ton of elk in there.
Just
A
screaming.
ton of elk, and
be fun.
it's funny. You guys are probably tired, but I went to one area to pull some cameras, and the bulls were sort of bunching up, and the cows were, and then I went to another area, and holy cow, there was like 50 cows.
Bulls screaming.
Bulls everywhere screaming. They were still running, and I'm thinking, God, that's sort of,
Yeah, isn't
interesting.
it funny? It's like a 40-mile difference in night and day difference with the elk activity, what they're doing. It's super
See,
interesting.
These bulls were starting to bachelor back
yeah,
up.
but they were all really young, right? I'm sure
they'd
they probably got sick of getting kicked around enough that they're like, hey, guys, do you want to hang out?
But anyway,
Anywho.
it's been fun.
It has been fun. More to come, but
Lots more.
all right. Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope maybe you have a couple good road hunting takeaways from it. Maybe you yourself are a professional road hunter and you have a nugget, a gem, a little tidbit that you can share with us. Hit us up in the comments below. Give us some goodness. Let us know how we can improve our road hunting skills and become more professional in the art of road hunting. Now, it paid off for me, and I'm sure it's paid off for some of you. So spread the wealth. Hopefully you gleaned a thing or two through Father Wisdom's experience of road hunting. Share with us what you've got. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. I've got some back straps to cut into steaks right now. So until next time, bye.